I'm Laura.
And I'm Jessica.
We're two moms from Colorado doing the best we can not to mess up our kids too badly or rip out too much of our hair. We started this podcast back in 2018 as a way to get together and just talk about being moms, venting and sharing funny stories.
We try really hard not to be preachy or give out advice. We just want to talk. However, we don't mind sharing your advice and we love sharing your stories. So send those emails to theparentmemoirs@yahoo.com.
Now that you have a lay of the land, let the madness begin. Love your faces.
Keep it sane.
What?
It's time for the parent memoirs. Let's back up a little bit. Oh, God. Buckle up. We're getting into the niece. Holy
Bum, bum, bum.
I'm telling you, this whole niece part of this, I really think, the more I've dug into this, the more I'm just like, she's the key.
Yeah.
She was the useful idiot.
Yeah.
That is really the key. And at this point, Alex is dead. All these people are dead. She's kind of it.
Yeah.
She's the only person that we got who could possibly tell us what the fuck
Right.
is happening here. Like, all right. October 1st, Lori rents a storage unit in Rexburg. Right?
Mhm.
She's seen on camera on October 1st. She doesn't put anything in it. She just rents it. Right?
Okay.
On October 2nd, she and Chad are seen at the storage unit dropping off a tire and the back seat of a Jeep.
Okay.
So you know how like seats
Yeah.
can come out, right?
Yeah.
So they drop off a big old tire and the back seat.
Okay.
Right? That is October 2nd. On October 2nd, there is a very curious incident with Brandon Boudreaux, Melanie's husband.
Okay.
Okay. Melanie is very much a mirror image of Lori's life and just seems to be, I don't know, a condensed period of time, but maybe it's the same amount of time. Not quite sure. Melanie, so they're both Lori and Charles and Melanie and Brandon, they both seem to be living these very like comfortable lives, nice houses and cars and beautiful kids and all this stuff that just look amazing. Well, all of a sudden, Melanie, Lori starts freaking out and kicks Charles to the curb. Melanie does the same. One day in like June or July or something, she's like, we should get a divorce. And he's like, what? Brandon's like, wait, what the fuck are you talking about? And like, he is completely thrown for a loop.
So just completely unexpected.
Totally unexpected. So they're doing like the kid handoff things and all that good stuff. But according to Chad's little chart, Brandon is a demon.
Okay.
Right?
Okay.
Okay, fine. Now, on October 2nd, Brandon had dropped they have 4 kids. He dropped the 2 older children off at school. Then he did the handoff of his 2 younger children to Melanie.
Okay.
Then, this is early in the morning. Then he goes to the gym and then goes back home. Now, neighbors reported seeing a Jeep pull up in front of his home, like sitting across the street,
Okay.
around the time that he would have dropped off the children with her. But he didn't come right home. He went to the gym.
Mm-hmm.
So the car just sat there forever.
So
right?
somebody like dropped off the Jeep and like left, or
No,
was
they're
just
sitting
sitting
in the
hanging
Jeep.
out in the Jeep? Okay.
Mhm.
Like waiting for him to come home.
Yeah.
Okay.
So, pulling up to the house, he saw the Jeep. Now, this Jeep, it turns out, ends up being a Jeep registered in Charles Vallow's name.
Okay.
That is the one that Tylee usually drives.
Okay.
But at this point, they're up in Idaho.
Tylee and JJ?
All of them.
Okay.
They've moved up to Idaho.
Okay.
Right? At this point, we believe Tylee and JJ are dead.
Yeah.
This is October.
Yeah.
They were last seen in September. But for some reason, this Jeep that she usually drives is down in Idaho? Or is down in Arizona? Why?
Yeah.
Okay. But it's there. It's spotted. Like, it's confirmed. So he sees the Jeep parked out front, and as he passes it, someone in the car fired a gun at him through the driver's side window, missing his head by inches. Now, he thought at first It was a paintball gun.
Gosh.
Right? Like,
Somebody needs to invest in a better weapon.
apparently. Come on, do the job right.
Right?
You're going to do it. Do it right. Yeah, I'm kidding. So he freaks out, like calls the police. The police apparently had his whole street like locked the fuck down
Yeah.
for like an entire day trying to figure this shit out. Like,
Yeah.
this was a big goddamn deal. Now, he apparently got the younger two kids back. I don't quite understand this whole thing. When he got the kids back or that, because she had them, I don't quite get it. If somebody has details of that timeline, that like 24, 38 hour, 46 hour period, whatever, let me know. But he gets all kids and he goes into hiding.
Yeah.
He's like, somebody's trying to murder me. I don't know what the fuck, right? Go on.
So is this situation what the one individual who commented about Melanie was driving the Jeep? Is that what that's referring to? Is that incident?
Mm-hmm.
So somebody thinks that Melanie was there trying to kill Brandon?
The theory is because, okay, so on October 3rd, that was the second.
Okay.
On October 3rd, Alex,
Mm-hmm.
okay, is on camera in Idaho getting the tire and the back seat back out of the storage unit.
Okay.
So the theory is, in order to have more space in the back,
Yeah.
in order to be able to do this,
Mm-hmm.
you would have to take the back seat out.
Okay.
In order to take the back seat out, you have to take that back tire off.
Yeah.
So the theory is they took it off
Right.
so they could do this. He drove all the way back up to Idaho and put him back.
Huh.
And the theory is she was driving while he was in the back shooting. And right after this whole thing went down, apparently Melanie like booked it up to Idaho. Like,
When she was supposed to be with her kids.
mm-hmm. He had the kids at that point. Like
Oh,
I said,
okay.
I'm very confused about the timeline there with like when she had the kids, she gave them back, they went into hiding, she went up to Idaho. Little
Right,
confused
yeah.
by that. But at this point, a PI gets involved.
Okay.
Brandon comes to him and is
Mhm.
like, somebody's trying to kill me.
Yeah.
I am freaking out and I think it's my soon-to-be ex-wife and I don't know what the fuck to do.
Right.
And he throws all this information at him about this group.
Yeah.
Because at this point, Brandon has come to believe, like, I'm getting a divorce because of these crazy people, because of this cult, right?
Yeah.
And at this point, the PI doesn't really know, like, are you the good guy or are you the bad guy? Like, he's
Right.
just hearing this fantastical story, and Brandon is telling him, like, people seem to just be disappearing around these guys.
Yeah.
Like, it's scary. So he starts digging into it,
Mm-hmm.
right? Now, there was a lot of weird back and forth. I think I'm actually going to skip all this, but just know there's a lot of weird back and forth where Melanie Gibb is trying to be used as a cover. Like,
And that's the friend, not the niece.
right, that's
Okay.
the friend.
Okay.
They went and asked her, can you go check on the kids at the old address? There's a whole bunch. All you really need to know about it is this is a moment where they ask Melanie Gibb
Mm-hmm.
to go check on something
Mm-hmm.
as part of what seems to be their stupid attempt at creating like a, well, look, why would I have asked her to do this if this happened?
Right.
Like, it's a little complicated and not really worth
Okay.
diving into.
Sounds
but
good.
they're trying to use Melanie Gibb as their cover. Now, 2 weeks after this, Melanie texts Brandon and says, I'm moving to Boise. We can work out custody. And he's like, wait a minute. You've already upended our children's entire lives.
Mm-hmm.
And now you want to move to another state?
Yeah.
Like, what are you talking about? So, in the divorce proceedings, Brandon requests full custody and for Melanie not to see the children without supervision because at this point, he is highly concerned that they might do something to his kids.
Yeah.
Because he's like, I don't know if you're going to you think I'm a demon.
Right.
Like, are you just all of a sudden going to, like, the kids are going to pop an attitude with you and the next thing you know, they're demons and they're dead?
Right.
No, you're not anywhere. You're not allowed anywhere near my fucking kids. Like, back
Right.
off. So he asks the court for this. Now, she doesn't actually show up. So for court. So the judge grants his request.
Yeah.
Now, at this point, the PI is following her around, and he ends up being real important.
Yeah.
Because he ends up putting a GPS tracker on their U-Haul.
Yeah.
Because she's moving up to
Boise.
Yeah. Right? She's not really moving to Boise. She's going to Rexburg, whatever.
Okay.
So the PI is following her around, and he sees her with Uncle Alex, right?
Okay.
And they're packing up her house. They've got a U-Haul out front. But all the kids' stuff, twin mattresses, brand new toys, all kinds of shit. And there's pictures of it. Just a giant pile of brand new shit that they don't put in the U-Haul. They leave on the side of the road with a little sign that says free.
Mm-hmm.
And he's like, why would you? And honestly, for me, it feels like they were about to end up like Tylee and JJ.
Yeah.
Like, because why would you not? If you thought you were going to have your kids come stay with you, even for, you
would take
summers,
stuff.
You would take their stuff. Like, honestly, I have a feeling those kids were in danger.
Yeah.
And they, thank God,
Right.
all this has happened.
Good call, Dad.
Thank you.
Yeah.
He throws a GPS tracker on the bitch,
Mhm.
on the U-Haul. So the PI witnesses in November, because the PI's following him around. The PI witnesses Alex and Melanie driving all over the place, all over town in Arizona, to different friends' houses trying to find her kids. She even went onto Facebook because they're in hiding,
Yeah.
and the judge gave him the kids.
Right.
So she even goes to Facebook and offers $10,000 if anyone has info on where the kids and her ex might be. Now, eventually, they go to Utah. And let's take a look here. They go to Utah and they go to Brandon's parents' home.
Mm-hmm.
Because that's where she thinks they're hiding out, right? And apparently they were. But the first time they try, basically his parents go out and they're like, leave or we call the cops.
Yeah.
She didn't leave. They called the cops. The cops came and basically, did the, white person privilege thing. Like, we're going to let you go this time, but don't come back.
Right.
You come back, we'll arrest you. She fucking came back. Tried it again. So they arrested her ass. And Uncle Alex bailed her out. So, like, she was... And apparently they found her, like, when the cops rolled up the next time, she'd busted into their garage. Like, she was kind of in the house. Like, this woman, like, you see her on interviews and she's very much just, oh, but, I don't really know anything. Aunt Lori is just, and Uncle Alex, and I don't know anything. Like, she comes across very, like, sweet. I'm telling you, this bitch is dangerous.
Yeah.
Like, she is not fucking around. Now, this is where a character gets introduced into this story named Ian Pulowski.
Okay.
Because at this point, up until this point, she is Melanie Boudreau.
Right.
Ian Pulowski, there are two stories about how they met. One of them is they met on some Mormon dating app on November 15th of 2019.
Mm-hmm.
Others say that there's evidence they might have known each other sooner.
Mm-hmm.
But that evidence to me is a little shaky. But these two meet on November 15th, and by the end of the month, they're married.
Okay.
Because they say that that's normal for Mormons. I have a feeling it's more like, I really like you and I want to bone you, but my religion says we have to be married, so let's just get married so we can bone.
Right.
I have a feeling that's what it is. But, whatever. But Melanie Pulowski is the person with the answers. Ian Pulowski is the person, for me in this case, that is the wild card. We're not really sure of Ian's motivations.
Okay.
Because Ian seems like he might be a double agent in this whole thing.
Like an undercover, like literal undercover agent?
Because at one point he was. The cops got a hold of him, and he was wearing a wire and the whole nine.
Okay.
And but he eventually tells her and flips and the whole nine, says, no, I'm so sorry, I'm with you. But there's a reason that I think he did that, which makes me think he's the wild card.
Okay.
So here's what happens. They get married. Now, Ian has an ex-wife, Now, maybe somebody else, if somebody else out there has more information on why a bunch of people had said that it seems like Ian's a really shitty husband. He's a good man with the kids, good father, but a shitty husband. I don't quite understand why those two got a divorce in the first place, but a lot of people, he's a horrible person. He's a shitty husband. I don't understand. If anybody's got an example, send it my way. Now, what ends up happening is on their wedding night, she ends up downloading him on all these beliefs.
For Ian and Melanie on their honeymoon night.
Mm-hmm.
Okay.
So she starts telling him all this stuff, and that's when he's like, it sounds like something straight out of a Dungeons and Dragons, like, tabletop role-playing game. Now, she told him, according to his original affidavits with the police, she told him that Alex had tried to kill Brandon. But she claimed that she didn't know about it beforehand, that they only told her afterwards. Now, the PI doesn't buy that because he's just like, what benefit to them?
Right.
Why would Alex, your uncle, benefit from killing your husband? Who would benefit? You.
Right.
Like, dumbass. But she told him my Uncle Alex tried to kill him and failed. I'm like, well, he might have just tried to kill him because he loves his niece, and this Mr. Daybell said he's a demon. Because they are saying at this point that they're here, their purpose, Lori and Chad and Alex, they're saying that their purpose is to rid the world of demons.
Right.
So I kind of agree with the PI, but at the same time, maybe not.
Yeah.
I'm a little on the fence on that one. But so this dude's immediately concerned. And eventually he's worried about his kids. He's like, what happens if they're rated as a demon by Chad because they're so brainwashed? And at one point, apparently they tell Ian that his ex-wife is a demon. So he shares all this with his ex-wife, and she's flipping the fuck out.
Yeah.
Like, we have to go to the police.
Right.
Like, now. Because she's like, I'm terrified. Like, you married this bitch after 2 weeks of knowing each other, and now you've put me and our children at risk, you dipshit. We're going to the cops.
Right.
So they end up going to the police. The police have him wear wires and record phone calls. We don't quite know if there's anything really in those. Although it doesn't sound like it is. It sounds like it's more just them just doing their normal bullshit. Like, the world is going to end. Are you prepared? Yes, I'm prepared. Are you prepared? Yes. Are you sure you're prepared? Yes, we're preparing a people. Like, oh, good Lord. Morons. Anyway, but he becomes interesting in the story because he does wear the wire. They do the phone calls. But according to him, and this is where I think he could be a double agent. According to him, the guilt of betraying her basically was just too much. And they say this in the Dateline interview.
Mm-hmm.
It was just too much. Eventually and they'd only been together, married at this point, like 2-3 weeks, whatever. Right?
Okay.
He tells her, I've been recording our conversations, etc., etc. She decides to forgive him. Because, after 2 weeks of marriage, you have a solid foundation to be able to get over that betrayal.
Right.
Okay. Got it. Right. But come to find out, she's pregnant with his baby.
Mm.
Now all of a sudden he finds out she's pregnant and all of a sudden he's on her side. I have a feeling because all these people, because there are some people that are like, oh, well, we thought he was a good dad, but he's a shitty dad, blah, blah, blah. Because at this point, the court has restricted his visitation with his kids, but he hasn't seen his kids. Yeah. He's not taken advantage of it to see. I'm like, for me, it sounds like he's protecting them.
Yeah.
And more than likely, he's trying to protect the unborn baby. And as soon as that baby comes out, we might have a different Ian on our hands. I don't know.
Right.
His excuse now is, well, I just didn't understand. And now that she's explained more about their beliefs, I get it. But, that's what her uncle and aunt believe. That's not what she believes. Like, that's his excuse now. Like,
okay.
I'm like, okay, whatever. He is the person in this that I'm like, oh, we gotta watch him. Because I have a feeling, I just don't think his role is what he's saying it is at this point. It feels a little secret agenty.
Yeah.
Am I wrong? Like, does that seem strange to you?
No, it does. It does seem strange. I could see how it could, go either way, but I'm hoping that you're right and that he's just trying to keep the best interest of, an unborn baby and his other kids and stuff at heart.
I would hope.
Yeah.
Now, and like I said, I think as I said, I think Melanie knows more because in the Dateline interview, she was describing, and in other interviews, she keeps describing the kids, JJ and Tylee, before they found their bodies in past tense, which we talked about with the Letitia Stout stuff.
Right.
Like, you don't know that they're dead, but you're referring to them in the past tense?
Right.
Okay.
Yeah.
Gotcha. Now, when Melanie moved up there, she actually moved into the condo or townhouse or whatever the fuck it is, literally right next door to Lori. And Uncle Alex lived in another unit in the same place. So they're all like right there. Now, at this point, this is October. The kids have disappeared. Our question, a lot of people are saying, okay, so you didn't ask where the kids were? You lived right next door. And she's trying to do well, I didn't know. And they're like, you literally lived next door.
Right.
You didn't see the kids anywhere, and that didn't make you have a question?
Right.
There are other people, like the Melanie Gibb person. So Gibb is like visiting over a weekend, and she says, oh, JJ's at therapy, or JJ's at school, and gave all kinds of excuses. I'm like, it's a weekend.
Right.
I don't care if you have autism. They usually don't have school on the weekends.
Right.
If I'm wrong, if somebody out there is a parent of an autistic person or knows, if I'm wrong, let me know. But it seems odd.
Right.
I'm like, some of these people around them just seem to either they're morons and take really stupid explanations for shit, or they're lying.
Right.
Like, not sure which one. But during one visit in September, it sounds like it was after Tylee disappeared, but before JJ disappeared. Because the last time anybody saw Tylee was September 8th.
Okay.
The last time anybody saw JJ was September 23rd. Now, on right before, during that visit with Melanie Gibb, when she visited Lori at the townhome, Lori was pointing out things that JJ was doing that, according to Melanie Gibb, were just completely normal for JJ, right? She was pointing at those things, going, "Look what he's doing. Isn't that weird? He's a zombie," and telling her he's become a zombie. And she's like, "He seems normal to me."
Yeah.
What the fuck? And September 23rd is when Gibb left, and that was the last day that JJ was seen.
Gotcha.
At that point. Now, on a separate track, with the PI that's working for Brandon, he's still trying to figure out what the fuck. Like, he's trying to figure out who shot at him. He's trying to figure out if the kids are safe. Like, that is kind of his goal. He's trying to just locate where all the players are.
Right.
So that he can kind of start tracing movements and doing all this stuff. Like, he seems like a really good PI. In the process of all this, meets Kay and Larry Woodcock, JJ's biological grandparents.
Okay.
Right? Mm-hmm. And they tell him, we can't figure out where JJ is. Right? Because at this point, they're trying to get a hold of JJ. Nobody's answering. Colby is trying to get a hold of Tylee. Mm-hmm. Lori keeps telling him, oh, she's with friends. She's busy. Colby can sense shit is wrong.
Right.
So finally he's like, you will tell her to call me, or he texts or something. He does something that's like, now. All of a sudden, we know now, Lori texts him as Tylee.
As Tylee, yeah.
Saying, sorry, super busy, things are crazy, love you, bye. We know Tylee didn't send that.
Right.
Like, no. So they're kind of covering. But Kay and Larry Woodcock, they also hire the PI. They're like, while you're doing all this, can you figure out where the kids are? And he comes back to them and he's like, I don't know where they're at. I can't, they're not there. I can't find them. And that's what generated Kay and Larry calling the cops and saying, can you go check on the kids? Because something is wrong here. And that's what kicked off this whole thing. The PI trying to figure out why Brandon was shot at.
Right. Led
to this whole thing. That PI, you could tell, he's just like, how did I get here? Right. Like, I'm just a private investigator. I took a case. Like, and he talks about, like, the first time, like, when Brandon, like, came into his office and literally just, like, vomited all this information. Like, if you didn't know anything about this story.
Yeah.
If everything I just told you, somebody walked into your office and was like, I want you to investigate because bleh, and just threw this on your desk, you'd be like, really?
Are you for real?
Like, I mean, he genuinely was. And you can tell he's like, he seems like a pretty good guy. Like, even Nancy Grace, because she was like, you put a GPS on their U-Haul? And he's like, yep. And she's like, ooh, you are smart. Because he's like, I'm not driving all over the place following these people. Right. But it turned out to be a really smart move because now we can track them.
Right.
Like, and he found out he's the one that found, because when they went on the run, so the police do the wellness check. Right. They lie. Here's the funny part. Here's what they lied about. Or here's how what the lie was. They go to do the wellness check and they're like, where are the kids? The cops. Where are the kids? Lori and Chad. First of all, Chad pretends like he doesn't even know Lori all that well.
Really?
Even though they were married.
Right?
At this point. Like, he tried to act stupid and say, like, I don't have her phone number. Like, I barely know her. Like, he was being a moron, right? But their lie was, oh, they're with family in Arizona. Their names are Kay and Larry Woodcock.
Which is who called the police to do the wellness check.
Yes, exactly.
Oh my God.
That's why I told you in test last time. I was like, the lie that they tell the cops on the wellness check just cracks me the fuck up. They're like, oh, they're with the grandparents in Arizona. Like, oh, the ones that called us to tell us that they're missing?
Right?
Oh, sure. I was like, oh, shit.
Well, that there is basically admission to...
Yeah.
To, you know...
To something.
Yeah. To something.
That fucking cracked me up. I was like, that was your lie?
Because they didn't know that they were involved.
Nope. They also tried to get Melanie Gibb to lie. They said, will you tell the cops that JJ is with you?
No.
Like, once again, there's so much just incriminating shit. Like, why would you do that?
Right. Unless you fucked up.
So as soon as the cops leave, because the cops are pretty much like, we'll be back.
Right.
Right. They book it back to Hawaii.
Yeah.
Now, the niece, little Miss Innocent Melanie, she says, oh no, they didn't run from the cops. It was a plan for them to leave for Hawaii. I tried so hard. I dug and dug and dug. I'm like, I want to know when they purchased the tickets to go to Hawaii.
Right.
Did you buy them last minute or did you already have them? Because there's an easy way to be able to prove one way or another.
Right. Because if you were planning it, you would have purchased the tickets in advance, not right when you got to the airport.
Right. But guess who figured out where the fuck they were?
The PI.
The PI.
Because of the GPS?
Nope.
Or just...
Because, once again, who had all of Charles's passwords?
Sister, yeah.
The sister, right?
Sorry, Quentin Tarantino story.
Quentin Tarantino on meth, right? But what does everybody use Amazon for? Normal, everyday purchases now.
Right.
He starts, because she gave it to the PI to track them. He says, I wonder if they ordered anything off Amazon and had it delivered.
To Hawaii?
Uh-huh.
Oh, no, they didn't.
Yes, they did.
What?
They're still using dead husband's Amazon account to order shit.
Oh, God.
And had it delivered.
To Hawaii.
That's how they found them. Once again, this PI, when you interview him, he's like, I can't believe how did I get here? Like, what the fuck?
Well, you know what? It seems like he's doing a great job. So props to you.
Good job. I'll drop in his name in here when I find it. Oh my God. Good Lord. So they book it, they leave, right? In December, Alex drops dead. Right? Now, Alex, this is kind of interesting. In the last 2 weeks before Alex died, Alex got married to a woman named Zulema Pastenis, who apparently they had only known each other for a short period of time. Like 2 weeks or so. I don't know what it is with these people.
Yeah.
Right? But they got married in Vegas, right? And apparently it was the same week or the same day. It was like hours earlier. So Alex and Zulema get married.
Mm-hmm.
A few hours later, Melanie and Ian get married.
Okay.
Apparently all went to Vegas to get married. So in December, his stepson ends up calling 911 like he's on the bathroom floor. I don't know what the fuck. They're trying to help him. They're like, get him on his back. He's like, there's feces everywhere.
In reference to Alex.
Yeah.
Right?
In reference
Okay.
to Alex. He's like, there's feces everywhere. Like, and they needed him. She's like, I know it's gross, but I need you to get him on his back. But the kid actually says, he's too big. I can't get him on his back. Like,
Yeah.
there's shit everywhere. He's giant. What the fuck?
So where was the new wife when all this...
In the middle of the 911 call, she shows up and they're able to like get him.
Okay.
She apparently wasn't home.
Oh, okay.
So they ended up doing an autopsy on him. There's no way that anybody could have killed him. He had blood clots in his lungs.
Oh,
Like,
okay.
there's no way to create that.
Yeah.
Like, once again, we said this on the last 2 times we've talked about this. There are natural deaths that occur around everyone.
Right.
That you just have to accept. She wasn't involved.
Right.
It just happened to happen then.
Sure.
Okay, fine. So he is dead. Lori was ordered to produce the children. They knew they were in Hawaii. They just ignored it.
Yeah.
So the Hawaiian authorities arrested him and had him extradited.
Mhm.
Now, since all this, they've done some interesting tracking on their movements with their phones around the time that JJ and Tylee disappeared.
Okay.
Now, sadly, as most everybody knows by this point, they finally found JJ and Tylee's bodies. Apparently, Tylee was dismembered and her body was burned. JJ, they initially found like he's wrapped in plastic and duct tape and just awfulness.
Yeah.
Awfulness. But they found them in the pet cemetery of the Daybells, on the Daybells property.
Mm-hmm.
Now, there are some interesting text messages from the day that the day after Tylee was last seen. Chad messages his wife, who had left for the day, saying, I've had an interesting morning. I killed a raccoon. Which raccoons are usually nocturnal.
Right.
Everybody says this is a little bit odd.
Yeah.
But it seemed to be an excuse as to why there's a fresh grave. That was his excuse. Oh, I shot a raccoon, so I buried him in our pet cemetery. It was really Tylee.
Tylee, yeah.
Now, what's interesting about the cell phone movements in Tylee's last day. So they had gone to Yellowstone National Park,
Mm-hmm.
right? Alex, Lori, Tylee, and JJ.
Okay.
Right? They get home kind of later at night. Like, I think it's like 10 o'clock or something. Now, the cell phone movements are interesting because all night, Alex, at one point, he stays for like another hour and a half after they get home.
Okay.
Right? He then leaves and goes to some like all night grocery store, like hardware store type thing. I don't quite understand. If anybody knows what, I guess I could Google it. It's a store called Mavericks, I think is what it was called. And then comes home, right? And then for the rest of the night, he's like going back and forth from his place to Lori's all night, 2:30 in the morning, right? The working theory at this point they thought that she was a demon. They killed her and they spent the night dismembering her.
Right.
Because the next morning, his GPS puts him at Chad's property at the pet cemetery. So the police had been executing search warrants and had been struggling a little bit. They were taking evidence, but then they would execute another search warrant and they would take some more.
Mm-hmm.
But eventually, I guess they brought in some equipment that detected the bones, like remains of something.
Yeah. So just to segue for a minute, I saw this thing on Unsolved Mysteries because I watched the whole Unsolved Mysteries, and there was an episode about a family, their mom, multiple sisters, and one of the sisters had gone missing, and they were trying to figure out where her body was. And so they had this this device that you rolled over the ground, and it took images of stuff buried in the ground to try to find her remains.
Exactly. Now, what's funny is Chad was watching the whole time they were doing this, and apparently was very curious about where they were looking, and was like parked across the street and watching this. And as soon as they found that area,
took off.
He tried, like, as soon as they found the bodies, he tried to take off.
Yeah.
And they stopped him. Now his fucking lawyer's sitting here saying he's not a flight risk. I'm like, except when he fled to Hawaii, except when he tried to run away as soon as they found the bodies. Fuck off.
Yeah.
Now, what's odd about the property, and a lot of people pointed this out online, and I don't quite understand it. For some reason, his children have still been allowed to live in that house. They haven't locked that down as a crime scene, but they're still going in with like search warrants every now and then and taking more shit. Why? Why wouldn't you lock that down as we don't, now the kids that we won't say their names, not unless there's a reason to. But for me, I'm sitting here going, wait a minute. You're just letting them live in a place where they could find evidence and destroy it, possibly, or contaminate it. What the fuck? Why haven't we locked this shit down? I don't get it.
And you're talking about Chad Daybell's kids.
Yes.
Okay.
From the first marriage.
From Tammy Daybell.
Yeah. I don't quite understand why they haven't locked it down.
That's a good question.
I don't quite understand. There's a lot of things in this case I truly do not understand. But I think the whole thing is rather terrifying, especially the stuff about Melanie. Like, I think she was getting ready to kill her kids.
Yeah, unfortunately, I think I would have to agree with you. I think, because why otherwise, like you said, why would she not take her kids' belongings with her? And
why was she so desperate to find them? Because she thinks she's releasing she thinks their souls are in limbo.
Right. Well, good for Brandon for doing what he had to do to keep his family safe.
And you know what? Like I said, Ian is the one to watch in this whole goddamn thing.
So Melanie has not been arrested, or has she?
No,
but
she's not.
Lori and Chad have both been arrested.
Lori and Chad have, and they still have not been charged with murder though.
Okay.
Just like
what?
Why? I have a feeling they're just making sure like they got an airtight fucking case before they do dick. And they've charged them with like concealing and destroying evidence.
Right. Well, I wonder if they think maybe Alex did it.
I think they're trying to prove it.
And because Alex is now
that's really the challenge in this. Like, it seems for me like, yeah, it's obvious they fucking killed him.
Right.
But in a court of law, you have to prove it.
Right.
And you've got so many people dead or so much information that just isn't accessible. Like, they have to find a way to actually prove it in a court of law. Right. Not just prove it on a podcast. Like,
well, yeah. And now are we going to be facing another situation where they're going to try to plead insanity?
God.
Since, zombies and worms and slugs and end of the world.
Feeling. Well, that cult... Oh, what?
I was going to say, and when, just in case the listeners don't know, when is the world supposed to come to an end? Did you say the 22nd?
July 22nd, the world is supposed to come to an end. Speaking of that,
I've always wondered, like, for people that go through this where they're like absolutely certain that the world's coming to an end, like, I've always kind of wondered, like, how do they feel when that day comes and goes?
Oh, it's so funny you said that, because that's literally what I was about to talk about.
Oh, okay, go ahead then.
I was listening to an interview with a cult expert on my drive over here, because I'm just like, I can't wait until fucking July 23rd.
Right?
This fucking moron realizes she killed her kids for no reason. Now, what's interesting about this, what the cult leader said, or the cult expert says, is, oh no, she's not. She may be an interesting one to watch, but in a normal circumstance, all the cult leader has to do is say, we prayed hard enough that God gave us an extension. It's like a tax extension. They applied for it, praying. and God approved it. I don't know.
God's version of a stay of execution.
There you go. So that's how the cult leader will spin it. But in his mind, what he thinks is going to be interesting about this is because of the fact that the way he put it is, Lori is his most devoted follower.
Mm-hmm.
Like, we all think about her as kind of the devil,
Right.
but really, this is him.
Chad.
Yes,
Yeah.
Chad. Like, he is the leader who is the one telling her to
Right.
do these things. Yes, she's the idiot,
Right.
but he is kind of the evil mastermind, right?
Right.
So what's interesting in this case, so basically she'll do anything he says.
Right.
Anything her God tells her to do, which is ultimately him, because he's saying he has a conduit to God directly.
Right.
But what's interesting is they're in jail.
Right.
And they don't have each other. So he's not right there to spin it to her.
Right.
So on July 23rd, when he isn't immediately in her ear saying, this is what happened, how is she going to react?
Right.
Because they haven't had that. You know what I mean? Like,
So, and how long do we assume that they've been separated? It's been
about a month
about a month
since the bodies were found.
So,
I have a feeling they still talk by phone. I think they're still allowed to talk by phone.
oh, okay.
But
Because I'm kind of curious, like, how long would it take for them to be separated to where he doesn't have any ability to influence her? Would she start to maybe rethink things?
And that's what I'm wondering. Like, okay, maybe what if the cops are smart about it and they figure out a way to keep them from having any communication just for like a 2 or 3 day period,
Right.
to see if somebody knocks some fucking sense. Like, if maybe she'll start to realize what the fuck is happening and she starts to like say, oh my God, what have I done?
What if she doesn't? What if she
Then they
never
go to
has
trial.
that realization? No, I'm just saying, like, okay, maybe I don't know what I'm trying to say, but like, what if she's just that far gone that she never, like, starts to realize that this
Yeah.
was just,
Then she's
like-
then it's just a fucking like train wreck that
yeah,
everybody else is left to deal with. Sadly,
yeah,
I just think this is honestly such these two have blazed a path of destruction
yeah.
that just
Well, I hope that now that they're both in jail, that it comes to an end, that there aren't any stragglers left behind that haven't been identified yet that will carry on the nonsense.
well, that's also what I'm wondering with, like, how much contact are the two of them having
Right.
still with Melanie,
yeah,
and is Melanie too far gone?
yeah,
Because honestly, if I were Melanie, I'd be flipping a fucking deal as soon as goddamn possible.
yeah,
Especially the fact that I've got kids, I've got a new baby on the way. Like,
right.
let's be little,
A little cautious,
just a little cautious, and a little smart.
right?
Like, you are already in an unholy amount of trouble.
Right.
If you want to be out of jail in time to see your kids graduate college,
Right.
you might want to start talking.
Yeah, and I've heard that birthing kids in prison is not very much fun.
No, they are not. I've heard those horror stories about these women that you're just like, oh shit.
Yeah.
Because they immediately snatch the kid from you. They don't
Right.
let you like keep it.
Right. You
That's
don't get
my
to snuggle it for a
understanding.
minute. They cut the cord and it's gone.
Exactly, because it's social services is like, you're fucking dangerous.
Well,
Like, especially like, maybe not for like, obviously lower level nonviolent crimes. They don't do that. But if you're in jail for the shit that she's being accused of, you think they're going to let you keep that kid?
right, and that's when we gotta hope that, Ian's the good guy that we're hoping he is, and he gets that baby.
I really hope that he's playing along. I'm hoping to God
Yeah.
that he's just playing along, because, and even a lot of these people that we're talking about, he just did a national interview on Dateline,
Mm-hmm.
right, on NBC, saying, yes, I was cooperating with the police, but now I'm not. It's such a public way to do this.
Yeah.
When there is no resolution of this, we're still clearly like hip deep in this mess, and he's doing that. For me, it feels like him proving his worthiness to
Yeah.
them. And
Right.
that feels like such a bridge too far that it's, I don't know. Maybe I'm thinking he's smarter than he is. I hope I'm not.
Well, I think that's just because we like to be hopeful that the good is there.
Yeah. Hopefully.
Yeah.
All right. Next week, we're going to get back to fun stuff.
Yeah. Yeah. So thanks for bearing with us.
Thank you. We wanted to dig into this. I really thought this would maybe be like a 2-episode thing. I didn't realize I was going to fall down a
Rabbit hole of doom.
a rabbit hole of fucking. The fact we're talking about, being high on dick.
And please
Oh
understand,
my god!
if you're a practicing Mormon, we mean absolutely no insult to anybody out there who is Mormon. We understand that these people are just
these are
crazy.
A splinter group. It's like I don't judge the crazy, abortion bombing,
yeah,
Christians based on the abortion bombing people.
right.
Like, I'm not like, oh, you're associated with those abortion bombing people. Like, that's pretty broad.
Right.
Like, okay. No.
We understand that this is not a part anywhere near of being Mormon.
No, not at all. So, okay. So, as you could hear, our children are trying to figure it out. Jess has got to take her kids to grandma's and papa's.
Yes.
So, we're going to get this all wrapped up. So, enjoy. Come back to us. If you're first time listening to us, if you found us because of this, please go ahead and subscribe and listen to our normal shows that are not all doom and gloom.
Right? They're fun. We promise.
We promise.
We're normally fun and uplifting and, sarcastic and judgmental.
And we make you feel like we're commiserating with you because we're commiserating with each other. Trust me.
Yes.
All right. So until next time, I'm Lar Mac.
I'm Jessica James.
Love your faces.
Keep it sane.
Hey, parent peeps. Thanks for checking out the conclusion of our Lori Vallow series. Make sure to subscribe so you don't miss our regular episodes. Also, make sure to check out our sister show, Q is in Cucumber, hosted by me and Tanya Edwards, where we talk about the crazy world of customer service. If you enjoyed our show, make sure to rate, review, and share where you can. Love your faces.